Not too long ago, I tweeted out this picture. It was, and still is, incredibly uncomfortable to look at. These are the current prices of some items in old school RuneScape. Some of these are shocking. For those of you that haven't played in a while or play Iron Man and don't pay attention to the Grand Exchange price, you may be seeing some of these prices for the first time. Which one shocks you the most? To me, it has to be the Arcane Prayer Scroll being 460k, a Dex Scroll being 13 mil, an AGS is 7 mil, a Trident is 41k, a Cult 250k, a Fury 1.4 mil, a Berserker Ring 1.8 mil. To be honest, every single item on here to me is a shocking price. It's why the tweet had so much interaction. A huge amount of people who replied to the tweet were flabbergasted. They couldn't believe it. The tweet itself got more views than my videos do. The comments are filled with questions, concerns, potential answers, and more. There's so much to talk about in regards to this picture that I wanted to make a video about it. I wanted to talk to you guys about this issue. Why are the prices so low? Why are so many items crashing? Why are some items the cheapest they've ever been? Why is the old school economy in a freefall, and can anything be done to save it? Let's talk about it. Some things I say in this video are things that some of you may disagree with, but it's okay. This is just a discussion. I'm sure the comments will be filled with people who have different opinions. Again, that's fine. We're all passionate about the game, and at the end of the day, we all want the same thing, for the game to survive. We're all on the same team here, so let's come together, like the video, subscribe if you're new, and save the game. You guys know what the economy really needs? Less supply and more demand. I can supply you guys with a demand. That you play Raid Shadow Legends. That was so bad. The game that brings a true console level experience to your phone. With over 500 unique champions to collect, you can explore millions of champion combinations and master countless tactics as you take on raid bosses, dungeon runs, campaign battles, and PvP arena matches. Raids truly has something for everyone to enjoy. The Shadowkin are now available in-game, a faction from the furthest reaches of the eastern continent, shrouded in mystery. I'd love to get my hands on Jintoro, a badass samurai with a glowing katana. The man's ready to do some damage. Or maybe Taragi the Frog, who's got the longest tongue in the game. This month, Raids has already released an insane amount of new content. 11 new champions, 200 brand new missions to complete with an exclusive legendary champion as your reward if you manage to finish them. As always, Raids is getting bigger and better each month, and it's never been easier to get started. Use my links below so you can summon awesome champions as soon as you get in game. I'll see you there. I don't think there's one main reason why prices at the moment are so low. The items I posted aren't the only items that are at their lowest price points ever. Hundreds of other items are as well, and this includes resource items. Jagex has introduced a lot of bosses and monsters that drop consistent GP per hour. How do you make a boss drop consistent GP an hour? You offer resource drops like noted ores, bars, gems, and runes, and alchable drops like rune and dragon pieces. This leads to issue number 1, arguably the biggest issue. Bots and gold farmers. If a boss or NPC drops consistent GP an hour, it is guaranteed that there will be bots and gold farmers farming it for money. They've added resource and alch drops to so many pieces of content, and the item prices are paying for it. Take Volcano for example. It's a neat boss with cool mechanics, but it's destroyed the prices of things like mithril ore and chaos runes. Every single world is filled with bots and gold farmers. They've always been an issue, but it seems like recently things have gotten way worse. The players can't do anything about it. It's a Jagex issue. Next up, death mechanics. This one is a bit tougher to talk about. I personally think that the death mechanics currently suck. The main reason I hate it is because the game feels like it has no risk anymore. Remember back when you died, any item that you didn't protect would stay on the ground for 2 minutes and then disappear forever? That was scary. Heading to God Wars dungeon or Barrows and only bringing items you were willing to lose, in my opinion, was perfect. Realizing you only have 2 minutes to get your shit together and get your loot was one of the scariest yet oddly thrilling parts of the game. You know what it also meant? If you didn't get your items after 2 minutes, unless some lucky camper managed to pick them up, they were gone, forever, deleted from the game, never to be seen again. That's not the case these days. There is no risk anymore. You can go to any boss you want with the best possible gear and know that if you die, you'll have to pay some GP, but you'll get all your items back. Fees are capped at 500k anyway, a couple of Zulrah and Vorkath kills and you're fine. So how does this affect the economy? Well, since bosses can be farmed in the absolute best gear, they're killed quicker and more often. This means that their rare drops are gotten more often, and there are more of that item now in the game, and the price goes down. A great example of this to me is God Wars Dungeon. Back in the day, it was an incredibly scary place to go to. Doing a boss solo did not happen often. You brought 3 or 4 items you were willing to protect, and if you died, you kind of just accepted that you would lose everything. That doesn't happen anymore. Items rarely just disappear. There's almost always a way to get them back, and since items don't disappear anymore, there's more of them in the game, and their value goes down. The issue with changing it back to how it was is that DDoSing the servers was a huge issue back then. Players would unfairly lose the items because of this, something out of their control. So Jagex had to find a solution, and their solution was for a long time, the players had 1 hour to get their stuff back, plenty of time to get everything that they lost. They then added the current death mechanics, and while it is an improvement and has added a somewhat large GP sync to the game, it still needs a lot of work. And there may be a simple solution to this, which I'll talk about in a little bit. One of the biggest issues was brought to me by my good friend and Gillinor Games Season 1 champion, Guns Chili. He said that PVM is gold farmed, and the gold farmers use clients like OpenRS to make it brain dead. It's all too accessible, and Jagex won't clamp down on it. Clients are a massive issue, especially clients like OpenRS, which offer extremely unfair plugins that pretty much play the game for you. This might be putting it a bit too harshly, but it's pretty much one step away from botting. Don't get me wrong, the majority of plugins you find on RuneLite are fine, and I'm sure there are plugins on OpenRS that are fine as well, but there are plugins on both clients, mainly OpenRS, that make PVM especially way too easy. Jagex did not tackle the third-party client issue soon enough, and it's gotten way out of control. These plugins tell you where to stand at the boss, when to eat, when to move, where to click, what attacks the boss is doing, what to pray, etc., etc. These plugins make endgame content like Theater of Blood, Chambers of Zarek, and the Inferno easy. If endgame content becomes easy, more drops from these bosses are coming into the game and saturating the market. You might be saying, why doesn't Jagex just ban the people who use these plugins? Well, some of the plugins aren't detectable on Jagex's end, and they have no way of telling if somebody is using it, which makes it impossible for them to ban a specific user. Jagex can tell if someone is playing on their client, the vanilla client, or a third-party client. If Jagex truly wants to solve the third-party client issue, they could just say, anyone who plays on a third-party client is banned. But that's not going to happen. They would lose too many players. It could be the death of the game. The second solution would be for Jagex to bite the bullet and buy RuneLite. Make it the official client and let users play on RuneLite and not allow any other clients to exist. They would be able to monitor what plugins are and aren't being used, but let's be honest, that's not going to happen either. Jagex doesn't want to do that. They want their vanilla client to stay as the main client and slowly, and I mean very slowly, improve it. But I guarantee you that it will never get to a state where people want to play on the vanilla client over a client like RuneLite. I don't know the solution for this issue. It seems like there's no winning. Maybe it's just gotten to the point where the issue has gotten so bad that Jagex has just decided to let it happen. Maybe they think that not putting out a statement condemning these plugins or clients is safer than putting one out. I don't know. So what are some potential fixes to help the economy? Well, first of all, we need more updates. The reason so many high-level items are cheap is because the bosses that drop those items are being heavily farmed. A new boss hasn't been released in almost a year and a half. We need more updates. It's simple. If a new high-level PVM boss gets released like Raids 3 for example, less people will be doing TOB and Cox, and those item prices will slowly start to go back up. We also desperately need more item syncs. We need ways to get rid of items. The Occult Necklace is the best magic amulet in the game, and it's worth 300k. A Berserker Ring worth 1.8 mil. Jagex needs to find a way to successfully create item syncs for many of these items. There are too many of them in the game and not enough demand. Warding was a good idea. It provided a way to get rid of these items which would have been beneficial for the economy, but at the end of the day, warding itself just seemed like a boring skill. Jagex didn't market it as a way to help the economy. They marketed it as a way to craft wizard robes. It's the third armor making skill behind smithing and crafting. That just didn't appeal to the player base. I think if a new skill ever comes to the game, it has to be one that truly excites the players. My favorite suggestion I've come across for a way to combine item syncs and death mechanics comes from a guy called Flomple. Here's his suggestion. Make it so that the GP that is paid to retrieve items from Death's Coffer are used to buy items for the best available price on the GE and delete it from the game. For example, a player dies and loses a Bando's chestplate. He runs back to the grave and claims it back for 1% of the cost. Let's say it cost him 100k to claim back. That 100k is saved by Death until 100 people have reclaimed a BCP. At that point, Death has enough to buy a BCP off the GE and delete it from the game. So while players wouldn't risk losing the item that they lost, it would still contribute to the future deletion of that item once Death has saved up enough money. Another suggestion he has is to save all the money used to rebuy items from things like instances and NPC fees and use the portion of them to buy the items from the GE and delete them from the game. I really like this concept. There are some issues with it, of course, that I'm sure some of you are commenting about right now, but I think the idea is solid and it's a good foundation to build on. This, combined with other item syncs for less commonly used items, would be extremely beneficial. My final suggestion is kind of a meme, but not at the same time. Do you guys remember the Well of Goodwill? It was a special well released in 2014 where players could donate coins or items, and for every million coins donated, Jagex would donate $1 to charity. Jagex has recently commented on this, saying that they're unable to do it again due to something with the laws or RWT related. I'm not totally sure, but I really like the idea of there being a well where you can just get rid of items. Imagine this well came back and there was a leaderboard in-game next to it and on the high scores. The leaderboard would show the players who have dumped the most amount of GP and items into the well. Super simple. You guys know people would do this. I guarantee you within a month that billions and billions and billions of GP and items would be deleted from the game. Is this a good way of going about raising item prices? I don't know, but I feel like there isn't much harm to it. Maybe the well only comes around a couple of times a year. I see a lot of upsides and very little downside. Okay, this has been a tough video to narrate. I found myself deleting and rewriting a lot of sections to try and not make it too much of an opinion-based video, but as I talked about at the very start, I'm just passionate about wanting this game to survive, as I'm sure all of you are as well. I'm really hoping that over the next few years, a lot of positive updates come out that secure the long-term future of the game. I would love to know all of your opinions and thoughts on everything I talked about today. I'd like to read through all your comments and try to gain some new perspectives about anything I was wrong about or missed. There's definitely going to be some things down there that people disagree on, but again, that's fine. Let's try to come up with some great ideas to help out the game, because at the moment, we desperately need some. Thanks for watching today's video. If you enjoyed, don't forget to leave the video a like and subscribe if you're new. If you'd like to see more of my content, check out my last video where I made a bond from scratch using only unusual moneymakers, and my video on the 2006 RuneScape handbook from Jagex, the oldest official guide there is on the game.